Good evening and welcome to Northbeat. I'm Alyssa Mosier. Advocates for transgender patients who can't get the care they need in the Northwest Territories say they need options other than doctors in Alberta. This comes after Alberta introduced a controversial bill. The bill could overhaul the way gender-affirming healthcare is handled in that province. Sarah Kremlowski reports.
First reading of Bill 9, the Protecting Alberta's Children Statutes Amendment Act.
Last week, the Alberta government tabled Bill 9, which uses the notwithstanding clause to try and shield 3 transgender-related bills from legal challenges. Those policies include a ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for anybody under 16.
There are times when the legislature needs to move forward with important pieces of legislation that cannot be tied up in the courts for years and years, and that is the purpose for using the notwithstanding clause.
Those Alberta decisions matter here because many NWT trans patients are still sent south for specialist care. Great Slave MLA Kate Reid says that can't continue.
It's very clear that Alberta doesn't want to treat trans youth.
Reid says no transgender resident, youth or adult, should have to rely on Alberta clinics. It's one of 18 recommendations in a new report from the Northern Mosaic Network on improving gender-affirming care in the territory.
Trans people were reporting an increase in lack of safety. Alberta has become quite vitriolic towards trans people.
And while Alberta is trying to block legal challenges, court cases there aren't going away. A judge has already paused the puberty blocker ban, warning it could be harmful before the court reviews evidence.
The government can't just opt out of the court process, and we intend to continue fighting.
Some legal scholars say those cases could continue, possibly all the way to the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court of Canada has recognized that trans individuals are among the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in Canadian society, and they're clearly the target of this Alberta legislation.
Back in the NWT, Health Minister Lisa Semler says Alberta is still the territory's first referral option. She says even if Bill 9 passes, Alberta doctors may still be able to recommend treatments like hormone therapy, and NWT doctors could prescribe them. Semler says her department is monitoring Alberta's legislation and will review Northern Mosaic's recommendations. Sarah Kremlowski, CBC News.
Yukon's new premier is moving quickly. Curry Dixon says a supplementary budget will be on the table within 2 weeks. It's part of his push to set the pace as the territory enters a new legislative session. MLAs have been summoned back for December 8th.
Well, the unfortunate reality is our public finances are in a terrible state, and we needed to receive some budget authority. The government was run out of money, and we need to address the spending pressures that exist there.
Dixon also confirmed when the Yukon Forum will be. That's the regular meeting between the territorial government and the Council of Yukon First Nations. It'll take place this Thursday in Whitehorse. It's been 8 years since Aurora College suspended its teacher training program. The program was based in Fort Smith and allowed Northerners to earn an education degree while staying close to home. The college stopped accepting new students in 2017. CBC's Luke Carroll has been digging into what that suspension has meant for the Northwest Territories education system 8 years on. And he joins me in studio. Thanks very much for being here, Luke.
Thanks for having me.
So, okay, why was this program suspended in the first place?
So, in short, it was because of budget cuts. The education minister at the time said there was a low enrollment and few graduates. Now, we don't have much data on this, but the annual report from 2018-2019 says there were 4 graduates of the program. There was also a review of the program in 2021. It had recommendations for how the program could be improved if and when it's renewed. But 4 years later, there's still no Bachelor of Education program.
Right, okay. So I know you've been speaking to people who were involved with the program. What have you heard from them?
So I spoke with Valentina Decrome. Now, she was the former head of the education program. She started actually just days before it was suspended and was there working at Aurora College up until 2023. Now, she says it was a huge loss.
You have teachers that are hired locally that understand the culture, understand the people, understand the children and the needs of their community.
Joni Tachia, who's originally from Wequity, was one of the final graduates of the teacher training program, and she agrees.
It's very unfortunate because, and now that I was able to teach, I taught for 3 years, and the students, they relate to you. They can identify themselves through you because, you're not Southern, you're Indigenous, you're able to speak the language. You don't have to immerse yourself in the culture because you already lived it.
Tachia still works in education, just not in the classroom anymore, and she credits this program for helping her build her career. She has kids and was able to stay close to her support network while studying.
So what did education councils and school boards have to say about the suspension of the program?
So I reached out to all the school districts and I heard from 2 of them. The superintendent of the South Slave District Education Council told me the loss of the teacher training program has been impactful. He says there are graduates of the program who have made significant contributions to the schools in the South Slave. The council did what was described as an ad hoc survey that found there's good representation of Indigenous people as support staff, but that they're lacking in teaching positions. So I also spoke with the assistant superintendent for curriculum and learning at Yellowknife Education District Number 1, or YK1. Now he told me that getting a new program started would be beneficial, that it would train people from the north in the north, and it would be more accessible to people from smaller communities.
So what do other territories have in terms of teacher training programs?
So now the NWT is actually the only territory that doesn't have a teacher training program. I spoke with the head of the teacher training program at Yukon University, Andrew Richardson. Now this is a program that focuses on Indigenous education. The program comes from the University of Regina, but it is tailored to the Yukon. Richardson says having a program in the north, for the north, is important. It gets people who grew up in the territory or people who have moved there for their education to be more prepared to work in the classroom.
And our program, because it speaks more specifically to that sort of territorial or even maybe sort of like circumpolar context, I think it prepares them for the challenges that they're going to face, as well as all the the rewarding parts of working in this part of the country by the time they graduate. So yeah.
Nunavut also has its own teacher training program at Nunavut Arctic College. They also have an Inuktitut immersion program available.
So as we mentioned earlier, we know that the Aurora College program in the NWT is still technically suspended, though it's been 8 years. Are there any plans to restart it?
So I reached out to Aurora College to ask for an interview on this subject. That wasn't granted, but a spokesperson sent a statement attributed to Angela James, the college president, which says there are plans to get the program going again in 2027, but that it's dependent on funding.
Okay, thanks very much for this, Luke.
Thanks for having me.
Nunavummiut are mourning the loss of former MLA and Qurluktuk Mayor Donald Havioyak. He's being remembered as a leader with a deep commitment to his community. Havioyak represented Qurluktuk in the territory's first legislative assembly from 1999 to 2004. He was a tireless advocate for preserving and promoting Inuit languages. In 2002, he received the Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee Medal for his outstanding service. Havioyak later served as president of the Kitikmeot Inuit Association, or KIA. KIA's current president says he will be remembered not only for his dedication to his people, but for his kindness.
He'll be missed, and we appreciate his contribution. Condolences to his family and the people of Nunavut.
Qurluktuk's current mayor says he grew up watching Havioyak as the community's leader. He says his presence will be missed.
Growing up, I've known Donald all my life, and he always gave some pretty good advice to me.
The community flag of Qurluktuk will fly at half-mast at the Legislative Assembly precinct in honor of Havioyak's passing. A second grizzly bear has been captured in Bellacoola, BC. This comes days after the attack on an elementary school group that hospitalized 3 students and a teacher. Conservation officers say the bear will be DNA tested to determine whether it matches material gathered from the attack scene. Another bear was captured in the area yesterday, the first since last Thursday's attack. But officials say the evidence for that bear is inconclusive. It will be fitted with a GPS collar and relocated. Iqaluit is one step closer to launching a new transit system, but it's not the city doing it, it's a private company. Bianca McEwen reports.
At first glance, the new Iqaluit transit bus looks like something you may see down south. And owner Jacinto Marquez says that's on purpose.
We can't do things like down south because we live in such a remote area. But, like I said, we live here for a long time, and and I noticed that we can if we push ourselves to do exactly what we want to do.
With the new bus, Marquez says the new service is almost ready for launch. The planned route will have 18 stops from Apex to the airport, running 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays with shortened service on the weekend. Adult fare will be $5, with elders paying $4, and kids 12 and under ride for free. You can pay with cash, credit card, or an Iqaluit transit card. Marquez says it's important the new service is accessible and reliable.
Taxi is $9.50, which is very expensive. We wanted to make it affordable for the community of Iqaluit. $5 seems very reasonable and affordable, and that keeps us running and keeps everybody happy in the community.
The Navumiyat say this has been a long time coming.
If you're not walking, lots of people taking cabs. It's a great third option to have.
It's about time. Sometimes we have to walk to stores. I like it, and about time the city did something.
Marquez says he's working with the city to get bus stop locations approved. He admits since buying the first bus 2 years ago, things have been a bit slower than anticipated.
There's been some delays in the permits and stuff like that because we do need permission to access some of the public areas, and we're working with the city to ensure that it's proceeding.
A City of Iqaluit spokesperson says a permit application for the stops was submitted November 14th but remains incomplete. Marquez says the exact bus stops haven't been decided yet, but Iqaluit Transit still plans to launch on January 19th. Bianca McEwen, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Thomas King has long been celebrated for his work as an Indigenous author in Canada. You may know his book, An Inconvenient Indian. But King says he's now learned a shocking truth about his heritage. He's not Indigenous at all. Griffin Yager reports.
He built his career telling Indigenous stories, and now Thomas King, in an op-ed published by the Globe and Mail, says he is not Indigenous and has no Cherokee ancestry despite believing he did all his life. The American Canadian received numerous awards in this country for writing about Indigenous life. Here he is in 1993 talking about his book, Green Grass Running Water.
In Green Grass Running Water, I'm looking at forming my world, that world that I see, around more native models.
King maintains that he did not pretend to have Indigenous roots and thought it was true. He says he was 3 when his father left, and though his mother rarely spoke of him, she said he was part Cherokee. King says he'd heard rumors questioning his indigeneity, and this year made an effort to check. This brought him to the Tribal Alliance Against Frauds. That's an organization that investigates claims of Indigenous ancestry, which looked into his past and found no Cherokee heritage. In his Globe and Mail article, King writes, "At 82, I feel as though I've been ripped in half, a one-legged man in a two-legged story." Indigenous writer Jesse Wente took to his social media to share that this is a familiar hurt.
This should have been taken care of long ago, and I don't know, I can't speak to why people don't resolve these own issues if they're going to represent themselves in ways publicly.
Look out, Bob shouts. There are Indians flying into the skyscrapers and falling on the sidewalk. Got a Mohawk over here.
Others are saying people should take greater care in checking their roots before claiming Indigenous heritage.
It's easy to verify too. So, looking back on Thomas King's claims, perhaps he let it slide for too long and it had hardened.
King says that he hopes to keep supporting Indigenous causes, but he's not sure they'll want to stand beside him now. Griffin Yager, CBC News, Toronto.
many Canadians and curling fans across the country are remembering legendary skip and veteran CBC reporter Colleen Jones. She died this morning following a battle with cancer. For years, Jones and her Nova Scotia curling team were fixtures at the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. They won 6 of those tournaments. Jones actually played more Scotties games than any curler in Canadian history. Jones was also appointed to the Order of Canada and inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. She was also a reporter and host for CBC for nearly 40 years. Well, the Northwest Territories women's curling team certainly had the opportunity to face off against Colleen Jones. Carrie Galusha is a former longtime skip for the NWT team, and I spoke to her earlier. Carrie, thanks so much for being here this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you are in Halifax, and of course, Colleen Jones is from Nova Scotia. Can you tell me a little bit about where you were when you heard the news?
Yeah, I had heard it. A former teammate of mine were walking to the arena to watch my brother Kevin curl this afternoon, and we had heard. And then when we got to the arena, Curling Canada and TSN had announced her passing. So there was a stir in the crowd. Obviously, Colleen being from Nova Scotia, it was pretty shocking to a lot of people here. A lot of people didn't realize she was battling cancer. So it was a huge shock to the crowd, and pretty sad day for Nova Scotia curling and Canadian curling in general.
Yeah, Canadian curling in general, which of course includes you. How were you feeling when you kind of got that news?
Yeah, it was sad. I had heard it was coming, so it wasn't a huge shock to me, but it's still very, very sad. I used to I've curled Colleen many times at the Scotties. I was chasing her record for Scotties appearances, so her and I were very familiar with each other. And she was just a great curler. She was a legend, and she's going to be really, really missed.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember watching her growing up in Nova Scotia. So she's certainly a fixture in the community.
And she worked for CBC, so
exactly.
She has a very familiar face and very recognizable.
Yeah. You mentioned the Scotties and, kind of battling her record for how many Scotties you attended. Tell me what it was like to play against Colleen as a curler.
It was always fun to play Colleen. I was scared of her. I was quite young when I played her in the early 2000s. And, she was very well known for she was a fierce competitor, chewing her gum and, just doing her thing and not really caring what anyone else thought about her. And she dominated ladies Canadian curling for years. So, but I looked up to her team, and everyone wanted to, they were winners and everyone wanted to be like them. And it was really cool to curl against her for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that stands out to you in terms of memories with Colleen in those early days?
Yeah, well, I was so young. I just thought I was quite scared of her. But, as I got older and got to know her, she just every time I saw her, she'd give me a big hug and we would chat curling. That's just what we always talked about. And I was at the U20 Junior Nationals in PEI last year, and she was there coaching her son in mixed doubles. And I just remember her being so kind to the junior girls that I was with, my daughter's team, and talking to them about curling. And that's just what she did. And she was just always so cheery, and she just loved the game of curling. And it was just great to talk to her about it all the time.
Absolutely. When you think about her, how would you like her to be remembered? We know obviously she was just a legendary curler, but what else? How else would you like her to be remembered?
Well, just like I said, just a really kind woman who loved the sport, loved everything about it, and being just such a fierce competitor, and just a role model to so many, especially female curlers across Canada. Everyone she was Colleen Jones, a legend, and it's just a huge loss for the curling community across Canada. And she'll definitely be remembered.
Absolutely. Well, Carrie, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for chatting with me this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Colleen Jones was 65 years old. 10 artists from 10 different Arctic communities are coming together to share their voices. It's part of a pan-Arctic concert happening this weekend in Iqaluit. The CBC's Carl Cardinal met some of the organizers as they were setting up.
The third Pan-Arctic Vision competition is taking place in Iqaluit this year. People from across the Arctic voted on the location in the last edition. Vegard Crane is one of the production managers for Pan-Arctic Vision. He says one of the main goals is bringing artists across the circumpolar world together.
Of course, we make a show that is entertainment to look at, but also we make these connections across so that people are actually getting to know each other and also collaborating afterwards.
Grace Mituk is a trainee from Pengnecton. She says she's excited to bring what she's learned back home.
We can teach the youth that there are all kinds of different opportunities that are out there.
Ankunak Larsen is one of the sound technicians for the show, and he flew in from Greenland. He says he's excited for the event and wants to help the artists sound their best.
Music bonds people across borders. So I think that's the most important thing for me.
The Pan-Arctic Vision is happening this Saturday at the Gadet Hall in Iqaluit. Tickets are available online or at the door. Carl Cardinal, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Well, the Christmas spirit is alive and well in Yukon as we sit 1 month away from the big day. And some folks in Whitehorse are sharing their seasonal traditions.
To get ready for Christmas, me and my sister are planning our matching holiday, like comfy clothes. So sometimes we do Christmas pajamas, and this year we're doing sweaters with some of our initials for our family on the front.
Mostly just trying to make time for friends who have become my family, honestly. Make sure that I kind of plan some gatherings.
We usually have Christmas dinner with the family and have like stuffing, turkey, all that. And making sure everybody has a meal like for the family and making sure kids have like a gift.
I don't really have a lot of money for this Christmas, but I do a lot of arts and crafts, so I'm probably just going to end up doing a lot of handmade gifts for my family.
Right now, I'm just kind of trying to get all my Christmas shopping while Boxing Day is happening, because that's the cheapest time to do it. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's in terms of shopping. What about you?
And we like to set up a Christmas tree.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And set up the lights outside.
Oh, all kinds of fun preparations, homemade decorations, popcorn garland is something I have on my mind. Every single year we go out and we chop down a balsam tree for our Christmas tree, and that's our big tradition.
Well, a month away from Christmas and about 3 months away from the Snow Kings Winter Festival in Yellowknife, which means the ice harvesting has begun. Check this out. The ice here on Great Slave Lake, about 6 inches thick and thick enough to start working on the windows for the 31st annual Snow Castle. You can see the light glowing through the first 100 pieces of ice cut. Folks working on the castle will harvest up to 500 more pieces like these. And all of this beautiful footage was taken by a royal subject himself, Yellowknifer Wade Carpenter. His specialty, crystal balls like this one. Yellowknife's Snow Kings Winter Festival starts on March 1st. Well, that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, though, of course, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/north. We leave you now with some frosty shots of Yellowknife today. It's a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day out there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Alyssa Mosier. Have a good night.